Greetings, Miss Aramau. So good to see you.
Nice to see you as well, Doc. This is a little nerve-wracking. I've never been in your office before, or seen you in a, professional manner.
Well, I hope I haven't been too intimidating. This is supposed to be a safe and welcoming environment, after all.
It is, I promise. I'm just nervous with people one-on-one sometimes. Firebrand isn't the only introvert, after all. So, how does this start? Do I just blurt out my big problem, or do you have some sort of Jedi mind trick you use?
How about tell me what's on your mind?
Jedi mind trick. Got it. Depression and anxiety aren't new to me. I've been struggling with both for years. But when it affects my work and the people around me, especially those I love, I kind of hate myself for it. Especially when, logically, I know my problems are all in my own head. I latch onto little things I do wrong and think, this is it, this is why my friend is going to hate me, or why is Firebrand with me, of all ponies? I can't seem to think I'm good enough for people not to leave me.
May I ask how often you're left to feel like this these days? In comparison to how often you feel you can let it go for a time?
It has gotten better. I don't immediately jump to that conclusion anymore. I don't automatically think my friends are going to decide they're done with me out of nowhere all the time anymore. But it comes and goes in waves. I could be having a great month and not think about it, and then one little thing will change me into a scared, anxious wreck. I've been friends with my roommate, Azure Heart, for over a decade. Yet sometimes when I don't fold the laundry on time or leave a little pile of my things by the door and she gets annoyed at me for it, there is a little shock of fear that runs through my body. Like, this is it, she's done with me. Or when I first started dating Firebrand. I kept overthinking every little thing, worrying incessantly over every word I said, for fear he would break up with me. I was with the stallion I'd been dreaming of for years, and I was terrified of messing it up. Ask Sweetie Bloom, she helped keep me sane. I didn't feel good enough for him. I sometimes still don't feel good enough for him, or for my friends, even those that I've had since before elementary school. I guess, in my head, I feel like people are keeping stock of my wrongdoings and are just waiting to ambush me with them so they have a huge pile of rationale for leaving me. It's happened before.
And you worry that because your life is getting better, because you're on a path of achieving what you've always wanted, there will come a moment in time when life will snap back, so to speak. Whether you worry over if you've earned what you have, or whether something you have yet to see or understand will come along and complicate your goals to the point where you won't know how to overcome the next set of hurdles?
It's more of the former. I'm not afraid of overcoming hurdles. I can adapt, I can change my plans, I can figure something out. But feeling worthy of what I have, I often don't. I don't understand sometimes why people want to be around me. I don't understand why these creative, talented people want to hear what I have to say. I don't understand why Firebrand is with me sometimes, because he's amazing and I at least don't feel as amazing as he says I am a lot of the time. And again, some days I do feel wonderful. I feel like I can conquer anything. I am in the highest of spirits and I'm ready to go. But there are days where even the smallest mistake makes me question why people care about me. Why they're still with me in my life, because I don't understand how people could love me for how horrible I am. Because I do feel that way sometimes. I feel too fat, or stupid, or snobby to be worthy of love. To be worthy of the people around me that I care about so much. I know a lot of these feelings come from the messed up chemicals in my brain telling me that I am all these things. But what reinforces it is that it's happened before. When I was a middle school filly, I had a group of 5 friends. I was new to the school that year, and they took me under their wings and seemed to like me. We had slumber parties and shared lunches, and I cared for them very much. Then one day, all of a sudden, they sat me down, listed off all of the things they didn't like about me, from my lack of fashion sense to my over-emotional tendencies. They told me they didn't want to be my friends anymore, and they left me. Something similar happened at the previous school I went to. It's why I transferred.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Miss Aramau. I don't suppose I can relate to such an experience. Though it does make a little more sense now as to why you've held on to this fear for quite so long. I wouldn't really know whether it is possible to dispel such a fear entirely, or even if you're meant to. I imagine this kind of feeling may continue to pop up at any given time without much warning in the future, so perhaps it may be best if we try to think on this in a different way. I know that you and Firebrand have had many happy moments together, and that you look forward to so much more in the future. I know that you're making daily efforts to improve upon yourself, developing your talents while furthering your education and career. In your moments of doubt and despair, when you worry that you may be losing hope, what sort of thoughts have helped to lift your spirits in those times of troubles?
The philosophical, or maybe the right answer, would probably be related to my faith, or how my friends love me despite all of my issues. The real answer is surprise baby announcement videos and funny puppy videos, or I sing Here Comes a Thought from the Steven Universe, or I just isolate myself and cry. But when I'm at my worst, that's when I can't imagine people loving me, so I don't take solace in that even though I should. I watch a movie. I read a book. I watch a countdown. I eat something sweet. But I probably don't cope how I should. I get over it the next day, the next week, or maybe after a nap, but the thoughts never go away completely. I just try to forget about them for a while. And it works, sometimes for very long periods of time. I haven't worried that Firebrand is going to break up with me in months. But certain things will come up that will make me question myself, and even, to my chagrin, my friends, when they're the ones I should have the most faith in.
I see. This is the kind of anxiety which can torment most anyone, and is unfortunately becoming much more commonplace and even far more difficult to tackle as time goes by. The way you describe your thoughts and actions when feeling down mirrors many others in the world today. We all want so much for there to be a moment where we can find joy again, something that will bring back a bit of happiness for a time, something that will allow us to forget the stress of life just so we can cope a while longer. And while this may be one of the most difficult concepts not only to grasp but actually put into practice, as I myself still struggle quite a bit with it, expecting happiness from things, whether it be from the past, present, or future, puts whatever that thing is in control of you. But happiness doesn't come from external events themselves. Rather, it comes from your judgments about them. In a sense, the way we cope with the inevitable downturn our lives take will have a lasting effect on where we seek happiness in our future. But if you go into everyday life already expecting both the ups and the downs, your mind will be much more peaceful. You have a grand celebration that you've been planning for months, and you feel on top of the world, as if nothing in your life could ever make you happier. And then the next day comes along. You have the worst day in as long as you can remember, where you feel that everything has gone wrong, and nothing could ever compare to this deep well of despair in your heart. And then the next day comes along. So many of us keep dreaming of some great goal in our lives, believing that if we could accomplish this tremendously difficult task along a path of many hurdles, we can achieve some higher level of existence where we no longer have to deal with such negative feelings again. This is especially true in our darker moments, when we're trying so desperately to cling on to some semblance of hope. But even this, the grand dream which we feel can solve so many of our current problems, can also be a thing that controls you. An external event from which some part of you seeks to draw happiness from.
I often try to call Firebrand or pretend he's holding me if I have horrible anxiety or depression moments when we're separated. But waiting for him also makes me sad. Like that?
Such thoughts can be wonderfully comforting, and with the right mindset even help to draw you out of your discouraging moments. But as I've said before, this is one of the most difficult concepts to put into practice because you need to keep it in mind when you're at your lowest points as well. Life isn't going to be about the one grand goal or event which will solve so many of our problems, despite how incredibly long and difficult that goal may be. We need to accept that life will inevitably have both those ups and downs, perhaps even greater than any we felt before. And though we may not always have control over such events, we do have control over how we feel about them, and where we seek our happiness from.
Well, most of the time we have control over how we feel about them. Mental illness is so fun. But I will try very much to seek out happy things when I'm in the lowest moments. I just need to practice. I need to practice feeling good enough for those I love, and practice accepting their love even when I feel I don't deserve it. Can't I just practice like bowling instead?
I'm sure we all wish that life would have that easy fix we can understand so much more clearly. But honestly, a life without struggle is a life without growth. It's a very long journey for all of us, Miss Aramau. But I am glad that you're willing to talk about it.
Well, bottling it up does more harm than good as a general rule, so I try to talk about things. Whether or not people listen, or whether or not it's an appropriate time, that's up in the air. I talk a lot. And I'm an emotional wreck. And I am loud. At least I embrace my flaws and know what to work on. Sometimes. Is that our time, Doc?
If you like, Miss Aramau, we can continue this conversation whenever you feel there is more you wish to discuss.
My dear Dr. Pupper, I could talk with you all day. Goodness knows I have enough problems and insecurities to fill a house. I just don't want to take time away from your other guests. Perhaps one time you and I could talk about what's on your mind. Even the doctor needs a doctor on occasion. And while I may not be a professional like you, I'll always listen.
Perhaps one of these days. Take care, Miss Aramau, and do give my regards to Mr. Firebrand as well. It's good to be helping.